We're back here on Commanders in the Chat, episode 43. Your two favorite commanders in the chat. What's going on, Commander Cruz?
What's going on, Coach? Just sitting here watching USC dismantle this Rice defense. It's 66-14 action right now. Before I switch over to watch the end of the Ohio State Notre Dame game.
Yeah, that's somewhat becoming a low scoring affair with 17 points in the first half, all to combine. And
Shockingly,
yeah, Notre Dame has a 3-point lead at halftime at the Horseshoe. This is kind of interesting to say the least, because obviously there's a lot of Notre Dame haters, including myself. So it's kind of an eyebrow raising first half so far for Notre Dame. And I think it's just more so of just I don't think I necessarily hate them. I just think I kind of like the simple fact that they're always overrated, and then the fact of how they kind of cherry pick their way, like as far as when it's convenient for them, they'll go to a conference, and when it's not convenient to them, they want to stay independent. So it's kind of one of those where that's what I don't like. But personnel wise, obviously I like Marcus Freeman, obviously Chris Tyree's from my area, so the running back. So yeah, I love for a lot of guys on that program, but just structurally, I don't like it. Not a fan. But so we are here. It's funny because this is the final. Obviously, we have 8 days left. We are Brian Robinson away from kickoff and against Jacksonville 8 days from today. So, and I guess that's the perfect segue because obviously 8 days away. So, let's talk about the Brian Robinson. Obviously, the details. Obviously, from Sunday where he was shot twice, and went to surgery, got out. No non-life threatening injuries they sustained. Had surgery and able to come back to the facility on Tuesday, and he actually made the 53-man roster, obviously. And then he's under, what is it, 9? I forgot what list they put him under. So I think he would
the
the
non-football injury.
non-football injury. Because I don't know, for some odd reason I always get those lists because like it's the PUP, the PIP, the P. I like look. I like he's
You playing or not?
Right.
You
That's
playing this
what
weekend or
right.
not?
Like what that's like right. So just your thoughts on just this week and this this Brian Robinson situation.
It was crazy because I saw it and I thought it was fake. I thought that, just a different Brian Robinson. And the next thing I thought was, wow, we have terrible luck. This franchise is cursed. There's no way around it. Whenever we have a good thing going for us, somebody somewhere has to screw it up. 9 times out of 10 is Dan Snyder. And last I heard, Dan Snyder was not the one who pulled the trigger. So, lucky for us or unlucky for us. If he would have been the one to pull the trigger, maybe at that point, the rest of the 30 owners would have been like, hey, maybe we should not let this guy be in our club anymore.
Right.
Unfortunate, however, I mean, just like you said, he was shot, went to the hospital, released, and at the facility all within the 3-day span. I roll my ankle and I'm done 2 to 3 weeks. And I mean, not getting out of bed, don't want to do nothing. And this man was shot and was back at the facility in 3 days. Out of the hospital very day after the surgery, which is crazy, which is a testament to him, his toughness, which is what we need at the running back position. So, again, I'm glad he's okay. I'm glad it wasn't life threatening, nothing crazy like that. But Antonio Gibson, like, it's up to him again. So, hopefully he seizes this opportunity and makes it difficult for Ron Rivera to name a starter when B-Rob is back and ready to go.
Yeah. And like you said, it's one of the things where, and I'm telling you, some things you just think to yourself, like, it's so eerily, and it's crazy because obviously, and not to put the two together, but I think I kind of had the same kind of emotion in a sense. So obviously, with Dwayne Haskins, when I found out about Dwayne, I was jogging it. I was not. I don't jog, obviously, but I walk. I walked in the park when I found out about Dwayne, and I literally had to like collectively like kind of sit down because of just the fact of like it. It was kind of shocking. So Sunday, the same thing happened. So Sunday, I'm watching the Steelers and the Lions game. It was a little bit over. So it was about like maybe 6:30, 7 o'clock when that game was over. So I ended up walking. I didn't walk to the park, but I was near the park. So I'm walking. Um, and it's funny. I don't know for some odd reason because you hit me up, and then I seen I was like, "What? Like, are you serious? Like, it's like kind of it's another situation where it brings you to your knees, and make you stop to a point, and it's just like, it was really shocking because the fact, especially how obviously when we we talk and we as far as we looked at like this kid's fact that we knew he was from pretty much 3 weeks ago when he played his first game against Carolina. We was like, oh, he's gonna be our starting running back, like he's our right then and there. So hearing that, and then him being less than 2 weeks away from getting his first NFL start, then this happens. Like you said, you think to yourself like, oh my goodness, like first you want to make sure that he's okay. And I think that was the first thing where it was like it was shocking because of the fact, the timing of it, because he was on his, he was projected to be our starting running back week one. And just the simple fact, and then obviously as the details came in, just just like what normal, what normal people do on a Sunday, go, go to a restaurant, grab some food, and this had to happen to him, and especially just the nature of it is just, it's really unfortunate where you just look at standpoint of it's not like one of those things where it's sometimes when you think about like injuries, you think like, oh man, they're playing football, like you don't think those type of injuries aren't gonna happen to the common person. But
Mm-hmm.
what happened to Brian Robinson is one thing. It hits home. It could be in it. That could be any of us. They could just go into a random neighborhood to grab some food and just live our lives like everyone does. Everybody does what Brian Robinson do,
Right.
and for him to be a victim of this, and it's something. It's just it kind of make you think like like when we always know that crime doesn't have a name, face, or place sometimes. So
Yeah.
that's just it's kind of one thing. Kind of it kind of brought it home. And then I think after hearing the details of kind of the injuries and the severity of the bullets, that the thing about it's like if there's a situation where if you had if you were in an unlucky position, but you were able to kind of pick your outcome of that, it was the best outcome. If
Yeah.
you want to look at this situation from a glass half full, consider the fact that he did get he got shot twice, but none of the bullets had any structural damage to him. So especially, and then one hitting his kneecap and didn't hit anything. You think about a kneecap, I mean, it's nothing but bones in that kneecap. So it's just like for that bullet to not even touch any of those bones in his knee, not even just in general, regardless, that's to me is a great sign for him going forward. I'm not even from a football standpoint, but just from a standpoint of he got spared. Like you said, it could have been a tragedy, and especially instinctively when they came out, even though they said non-life threatening injuries, you still kind of in your mind thinking like,
Takes you all the way
you
back
know,
to 2007 for a
yeah,
second.
absolutely, yeah, because right, because that was a situation where because I remember that it was on a Monday because I remember I think at that time obviously I think I must have worked during the day, I knew about Sean getting shot, but then like once it got and like you said, I thought it was like almost like similar to this, like you said, almost eerily similar in a sense where hey, okay, he'll pull through. No one's really talking about it, but when I get home, it's like maybe like 5, 6 o'clock at night. It was like because it was yeah, it was dark, so it had to be in it because it was in November. So and then I'm like, Daniel Snyder, Santana Moss, they're on a flight to Miami, and I'm like, okay, this is really really serious. And then, obviously the reports come because I'll put it this way: 2017 versus now, it's a lot different. Where now we got really Brian Robinson details quickly, like in
Yeah.
real time, versus compared to 2007, where the information wasn't as fluid as it would be in present day. Which I didn't even. That's crazy to think that with him being shot at 6 o'clock, we found out around 7. Because that's really one of those things where we're not used to that in a sense. Where as far as like you said, like if back 2007, information was disseminated like it is now. Where it's yeah, because Twitter wasn't even around in
I think
2007. So we really, really had to, at that time, rely on like the internet and and ESPN and
right.
and television and media. But yeah, like you said, it did kind of remind me of 2007 a little bit. And yeah, and it's just one of those where you're just lucky. It's just glad that he's able to come out of it. And I think the coolest thing was because me, I'm the fat kid in the room, so I had to I did some homework as far as because I was wondering why did Brian Robinson bring Oreos, right?
Mhm.
But he's on snack duty in the running backs room. So that's
Oh,
why he bought the Oreos. So because he had to get the gas for Oreos. So I was wondering what was the significance about the Oreos,
I
but
thought he just like Oreos.
right. But he actually bought them, and that's one of the things where I think that's where I think this guy is. Well, I think Brian is special because it's the fact of him doing something like that. Considering the fact you think about it, nobody really would have gave a damn if he would have not do that because in
Right.
fact they just want him to be there. And the simple fact of him still being, a man of his word and doing what he's doing, like it shows integrity and it shows character.
Right.
And even the fact, even when people were talking about like Terry, like when he when he was in the presser, when they talked to him on, I think it may have been Tuesday or Wednesday, but like how he talked very well about Brian, just you know even in his short time there, like the impact that he's had on his team. So that's one of the things that you like, regardless of the outcome, statistics or whatever. He has a presence in his locker room, in his
Oh
facility.
yeah.
So he is stamped, like he's 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 a leader. He may not have a C on his chest today, but he'll have a C on his chest in one of these go rounds.
Yeah.
It might be soon. I mean, he's gonna be there. You will see a C on his chest very soon. But yeah. So on that same day, and obviously when Brian Robson came to the facility on Tuesday, the 53-man roster was announced. There was a few people that got the call to say, "Hey, bring your playbook. Coach want to see you." Any surprises that you
Really, just one
mhm.
was Jarrett Patterson,
Yeah.
and I don't know if it was so much a surprise, more so just a disappointment because of he, for the people who don't follow this team like we do, he's a local kid,
Yep.
grew up rooting for Washington as a child, was undrafted, played really well last preseason, and solidified his spot on the 53. And it was a really good story, really, really, really good story. Uh, him making the 53, and then this year we even talked about it after the Chiefs game. We started talking about potential cuts when it came down to the 53, and I thought if it were to come down to it, and I had even mentioned that we do have a lot of running backs, I thought Williams would have been cut before Patterson was.
Yeah.
But I guess Ron Rivera saw something, or Scott Turner saw something in Williams that they liked a little bit better than Patterson. But I hope he gets a spot soon. I don't know if he's been signed yet, either to an active roster spot or the practice squad. I definitely hope he gets a spot. But that was really it. I think we have like 4 or 5 tight ends that kind of it on the surface it looks it doesn't sit right, but knowing how much one Carson Wentz loves throwing to tight ends,
Yeah.
it's good to have enough. And again, you don't know about Logan Thomas, his injury history, if he's gonna be able to stay healthy. And it's good, just good to have depth there because that's one thing we have lacked. One of the positions we've lacked outside of the linebacker position, obviously, which we'll get into in a minute. Um, I think it's smart to have the 3 quarterbacks on the roster. Um, Sam Howell looked great during the preseason. So I wouldn't have been upset if they made him QB2 and let Taylor go. But I think it's very smart to have 3 quarterbacks on the roster. And that's really it. It wasn't a whole lot of surprises.
Yeah, because I know we talked about the 3 quarterbacks. I like, yeah, you at this point, the way things going, yeah, you got to keep a third because I think last year was a clear indication of, yeah, you need a third. And that's why I was shocked they didn't get. That's why I was even shocked last year where they didn't get a third quarterback after Ryan Fitzpatrick got hurt. That's why I was kind of like, maybe you should get you should get a quarterback just in case if something happens.
Yeah.
So, but like I said, I don't know one like you said, surprise was Jared Patterson because Jared Patterson was like he was the preseason darling. He was a guy that, like you said, at the University of Buffalo, obviously a local product. Him and Chase Young were like childhood
Yeah.
friends, and so you one of those where you're like, it sucks, like you said, where he's a guy definitely that was, you know, he was someone I envisioned probably here a bit longer than I thought. Like as far as he'd be kind of one of those where it's like, oh yeah, he's been here for like 4 or 5 years and not even know it because just a simple fact of him continuing making this roster. But I'm like you said, I don't know if he was signed or not, but I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a call back. Like because I always look at this running back room where it's just gonna be a war of attrition where you're gonna have some guys out
Yeah.
for a considerable amount of time. I mean, injuries is gonna ravage potentially this unit potentially. So hopefully Jared Patterson gets there. But like the cuts really won't. The one I was really scared. I thought who was gonna might get cut was gonna be De'Ami Brown. I definitely thought, especially considering the fact that that dropped touchdown pass last week. I was like, ooh, he not gonna make it because he really could have ended the streak, this Raven streak.
Yeah. I contemplated putting him on my list of surprise that didn't get cut, but just the
Yeah.
fact that this is his second year
Mm-hmm.
and he's still on that rookie deal. He's a 3rd round pick, I believe.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So, it's not expensive to have him on the roster. You still hope that you can develop him this year, maybe going into next year. But yeah, if he, we might be having this conversation about him next year, this time next year about hopefully he gets a call to be on a practice squad somewhere.
Yeah.
He has not looked good. He has not produced the way we thought he was going to. Even with Sam Howell in the game, we thought that chemistry was going to carry over and it was going to help Yami, but it just didn't.
It didn't. And that's just like, and that's how I was like, and that's like you said, where in normal cases, like guys will get cut. Like that's why I was really like, I was on eggshells like Tuesday because I was like, I don't know, because those type of drops that he had in the preseason, I wouldn't say 9 out of 10, maybe 7.5 7.5 out of 10. You getting cut, like especially if because I think he is the 5th on the depth chart if my memory serves correct, but I'm not 100% sure. I gotta double check that. But he's, and I think he might have been moved up, but yeah, I was really shocked. Like you said, I knew for certain. I was like, he gonna get cut. I knew I was like, that's the first thing I thought. Like,
Yeah, I wouldn't have been surprised if he did.
I know, and that would have
Oh,
been
I'm dumb. Jared Patterson is
what?
on the practice squad.
Oh, he's okay. All right, so this is even better. Yep.
Yeah,
Oh, that's even better.
that's good.
So, yep. So let's see, where is he? So let's see for so Diami. Okay, so Diami. Okay, so he's third. He's fourth on the depth chart. Yeah, he's fourth.
Behind, the only person he's above is who? Dax Milne.
Uh, Dax. Well, yeah. Oh, that's right. Because he's all right. Let me look. Because we got Terry, Jahan, Curtis at the slide, and then Diami's left. Cam is right, and then Dax is the backup slide.
Okay.
So I mean, hey, and oh my gosh, speaking of Dax, do we ever talk about this situation? I know this is kind of off
I don't think
kilter,
we ever did.
but do you ever? I think I might have said this on Couch Coach Live, but I like. Do you ever realize like? I feel like everything that happens in the NFL got to come back to us. I swear, and I'm like, oh my, like, are you serious? Like this whole Zach Wilson thing, and they're like, yeah, he's with with one of his boys' mom. I'm like, that's Dak's mom.
Yeah.
Funny, yeah, because I said this on Couch Coach Live, and I was like. Because I remember we had a guy on the Jets and we were talking about that. I was like, y'all know that mama is a commander's mom, right?
That's crazy.
Like, I know. I was like, I swear, like I feel like
We
there's
just cannot
always
stay out of the news.
I know, and it's
Even
like
if it's by association, this team got to be in the news at some point.
right, and it's almost like
Terrible.
every NFL situation that goes down is when people say 6 degrees or something. I swear to you, Washington at some point in all these situations going on they're at some degree in it. They're in some form or fashion. They got their fingerprints on some of this. And I was like, oh my, like when that happened, I was like, are you serious? I was like, the year that we really need to play the Jets. Yeah, that would have been wild. But yeah, so there was a move this week that someone was head scratching. But the funny thing about this move, the first person I thought about when Jon Bostic was signed back was you, Rob. I swear that was fun because I was like, if Rob was giving out fruitcakes and Christmas cards, this person probably be second to the last on a list if he was to ever give out any type of holiday cheer to someone, or a Christmas card out to. He wouldn't even make the list.
Nope.
Jon Bostic. So
So let me set the scene.
Correct.
For where I was at when I heard about it. I was at work.
Mm-hmm.
And right now for me at work is a very busy time.
Yeah.
So like I normally have a computer desk job, but during this time I was not on my computer a lot this week. We got like a small break.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, you know what, let me see what's going on in the world. Pulled up Facebook at work. First thing that pops up. Jon Bostic returning to Washington. The only reason I did not throw my phone when I read that was because the case that I have is magnetic and my desk at work is metal. So it takes a little bit of elbow grease to take the phone off the table. I grabbed my phone. I reached for my phone. But because I wasn't ready for the weight, for the strength I needed to pick it up, it slipped out of my hands. And that's when I knew, you know what? Go take a walk. I took a walk through the hangar bay. I'm on an aircraft carrier, so I think it's like 1,200 feet long. So I was just walking back and forth. Why? Why? I get it. We need linebacker help. But we were talking about needing linebacker help last year because of this guy's play right here. You know we all know the definition of insanity, right? Like,
Yes.
everybody knows, every living adult, especially Ron Rivera, he's smart enough, Jack Del Rio, potentially smart enough to know the definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Why would you bring back the guy who's pretty much single-handedly ruined your linebacking core last year? How many times did we have post-game shows talking about a 3rd and 15 that was given up when Jon Bostic was in coverage?
And what was crazy about that? Because remember, he got hurt early. He got hurt in that Atlanta game, and he was out for the year. But remember, we flat based him in that Buffalo game.
Yeah.
And I remember because we were like, oh, like it was so much stuff going on in that Buffalo game. We like, and like you said, it's very strange. And I love people say, well, you don't like. To me, I would have you rather bring back Landon Collins than Jon Bostic.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if we are going to have that conversation, I would have preferred a guy like a Landon Collins over Jon Bostic.
So even Will Compton is still. He even said he would come back.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, come on back. Keep the ties on Will Compton. Cause he's on Busting with the Boys, right? That's right. He's Busting with the Boys. I know. And I was like, I don't know. It's so real. It's weird. Like now, when you see guys like former players, like he's slimmed down a lot, and it's almost like he's unrecognizable. Cause I was like, is that Will? And it's funny because every time I watch clips and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, that is Will Compton. Because sometimes I be thinking like, all right, like, but yeah, it's something. Yeah, it's like, I mean, yeah, right. He come on back and. But that's the thing where I just like you said, it's really it's an insanity type of move to me. Like you said, where you expect that he's going to contribute on this linebacking core, but it's not going to work out. Like, I mean, we've been down that road before,
and it's not even like he has some bad plays, he has some negative plays, like a neutral net zero. He's gonna play well some days. He's gonna give up like Trayvon Diggs. We look at someone like Trayvon Diggs and we say, yeah, he gives up 100 yards receiving and maybe a touchdown or two almost every game, but he's good for a pick or two every game, potentially a pick six. Jon Bostic is not good for anything. He's not good for a sack. He's not good for coverage. He's barely good for a tackle. I really want to know what any logic outside of he brings depth to the position is an asinine reason, and setting this linebacking core for failure.
Yes,
more failure than what it's gonna experience this year to begin with.
Yeah, it's like kind of like says it's incomplete. It's like one of those where it's just like, why? It's you just question the move, and like you said, I understand like the familiarity, but it's almost like if it's broke, you gotta fix it. If it's broken, I'm not. If I have a dead clock, I'm not gonna put it back on the wall. I'm gonna put batteries in the cal.
You're gonna put different batteries.
Batteries, right?
You're not gonna take the batteries out that are in it, kind of flip it around, look at it, and then put those batteries back in.
Right. Yeah. Right. And that's what's going. And that's what it sounds like. This is kind of what this move is, and it's kind of where you're like, we couldn't find nobody else. We couldn't. Ain't nobody, none of your Carolina guys, none of your, anybody who.
And I don't know if it's the fact that they just didn't look, or if it's truly we couldn't find anybody else. Because again, we talk about this every year. People do not want to come play for Dan Snyder. They see the turmoil that this franchise is in year out. They see how we're in the news almost daily, even for stuff that's not directly related to us,
Right.
not even football related. We're still somehow connected to every single freaking story. People don't want to play here.
Yeah.
So like I understand why Jon Bostic was uh, why he was considered, but at the same time, I don't have a list of all the available linebackers right now, but could have picked somebody, anybody, somebody different.
Yeah.
Because clearly we saw what he was just in the 3-4 games that we saw last year, and he was atrocious.
Yeah.
He was easily one of, if not the worst linebacker in the National Football Game last year. I cannot think of a linebacker who gave up more plays than him.
Yeah. And then even in 2020, because remember, he was the one that knocked Andy Dalton clean out. Because he was the one that got
Oh yeah,
ejected in that Cowboys game. And I was like, it's just weird. Like you said, this is one where it's kind of like really bizarre, like how this, like, like you said, this it just goes back to your analogy in the beginning. This is just insane to me. Like it's just one of those where you you bring depth to a linebacker core that already struggled, and you bring in one of the pieces. The reason why this line struggled, why so I hope it works out. I hope it does. Like you said, this is one of those where, like I always said in the jump, Ron Rivera's gonna do stuff that's almost like you gotta trust him, but it's almost like I don't trust this move. This constitute is one of those where it's just like, what on earth is going on here? And I don't know. Just like,
it's definitely like you said, a head scratcher.
yeah,
Infuriating. Some would say. I'm some,
yeah,
but hey, hopefully we're proved wrong.
yeah,
Hopefully something clicks and he balls out and is what this linebacking core needs. But I doubt it.
right. So, with that being said, Rob, this is the final free Sunday in a sense, as far as from a commander standpoint.
Yep. Our last
How
one
are you?
until week 14.
Oh, yeah, I know. And then, oh my, like, don't even remember. We got a bad week in 2 weeks before Christmas. Like, what the hell is going on? But I get it. I get it. I'm not going to get to that. That's crazy to think, man. We're going to be playing 3 months straight. 3 months straight. Yikes. Well, yeah. So, since it being the final Sunday, any plans to usher in the emotions, the good, the bad, and the ugly, before we get to the crazy part of the madness that is this Commanders team.
I'm getting ready to go back out to the middle of the ocean for a little bit.
Okay.
So I'm gonna be getting ready for that. And I'm gonna keep my mind completely off football on Sunday. Not even gonna, or tomorrow. I'm not even gonna think about it. Um, Other than a couple videos, I think I'm try to put out, which I'll get into in a minute. But really, that's it. Just keep your mind off of football. Just focus in on that. Not really thinking about it until Thursday.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's like I said, just be probably just calm, relaxing Sunday for the most part. Like you said, I don't have to worry about, like you said, and I think that's the thing where it's like the thing, like I know with me, like like on game days, whatever, like this would be a perfect time. Like this is where I kind of have the optimistic. I'll go to bed and it's wake up with a positive, oh yeah, we're gonna win this at a third. And then when reality sets in, or sometimes we'll win or whatever. But when we lose, it's just like, oh, then it sucks. And then the fact that we had the energy for the game that we want, if we lose, then it's like, oh, it's like what LeBron said, when he said, you go back to your miserable life.
Yeah, go back to our
so,
miserable life.
so then it's just like, Oh boy, like and then it just sets the tone for the week, like So I wouldn't say like my mood is like, but that Sunday night it could be a little like, oh, this sucked. Like sometimes I'd be like, you know what, no Sunday night football tonight.
So
No
let me ask you
comments.
this. So what's worse?
Yeah.
Losing the well, for you would be the 1 o'clock slot. For me, it's a 10 o'clock game,
Mhm.
and being upset all day, or having all day to really think about it, or would you rather lose a Sunday night game and try to have to go to bed on that?
Great example. Sunday night football, hands down. Like when we lost to Dallas the day after Christmas, it was easy for me to go to bed because I
So it's
was like,
easier for you to just.
because I'm just gonna sleep it off. Like versus, I can't go to bed like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I mean, people think something wrong with me, but I don't know. I think because I think because in a sense, because I don't say I compare myself to other teams, but it's like, especially if in the 4 o'clock, you got the other games, you got that 4 o'clock window, then you got the Sunday night game. So then you get to a point where it's just like, you seeing all these teams win, and then especially with us, we don't get no love on NBC. So it's just like, we never get love as far as even if we do something good, they sweep it under the rug. So it's kind of one of those where it's like I'd rather lose on a Sunday night because at the end of the day, there's no game after that. I can go to sleep, because like even like when we lost that game, I was trying to watch the news, and I like, hey, I'm not gonna watch the news. I'm just gonna just take this punishment. Like that's how I felt. Like it's like that's why it's almost like it's a train wreck, and that's why I think people don't understand. That's why I think when people have this type of emotion when it comes to football, like people don't understand this type of stuff because a part of you is like, why are you subjecting yourself to this? They're getting beat like 56-7.
Yeah.
Like you're about to lose by 6 some points. Why are you still watching this game? I want to see this to the finish. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like I can't explain that. I don't know if it's one of the things that might need a visit with a professional on a couch and just be like, are you addicted to trauma? Like, no. But it's just like, are you addicted to emotional damage?
Seems like it sometimes.
Correct. So I don't know, and that's one thing too, where even like, and it's funny because when we talk about like a bad week, because everybody like, oh, a bad week, I'm just gonna just not worry about stuff, not watch games. I still be watching games. I be like low key missing it. I
Yeah.
for real, like last year, even though they pissed us off on Halloween, but that's next week. I was like, oh man, I can't wait till we play next week.
Yeah.
I was just like, for some odd reason, even it's just the most weirdest thing. Like I think, and that's I think where it's funny. Like when people don't, this is something. It's like it's one of those feels where it's undescribable because like why do people act this way? It's just a game. But it's like no, it's not. It's not just a
You know what's
game.
crazy
Yeah.
is, so I saw a tweet one time. It might have been shared on Facebook. I saw it on social media. It said, "Guys really pick a favorite sports team at 11 years old and let it ruin their lives for the rest of their life." It's like, man, like there's been times where I've thought about switching teams, being
Mhm.
like, you know what, let me, because living up here by Seattle, I could easily been a Seahawks fan, which I'm glad I didn't because they're being led by Geno Smith. So I would have been going from one shit show to another.
Right.
But like living down in San Diego, could have been a Chargers fan. Apparently they have the best quarterback since sliced bread. Apparently these days, but man, sticking with this team, it's gonna. But here's the thing: in America, life expectancy for a male is like 76 years old. For a Mexican, drops it down to about 72. Like the fact that just being a football fan drops it down to about 70, 69 and a half.
Right.
being a Commanders fan, I'm sure it dropped it down to about like 43, 44 years old. So I got a solid 12 years left before I'm done.
Yeah, and it's just one of the things where it's just like and I think it's just one of those things where it's just like you said, when people pick their teams at 11, 12 years old, and that's how like I was. I mean, obviously, and it's just like you said, obviously mine's came, obviously 'cause my dad loves the team. So that was kind of my kind of connection to my father was this team. So you'll see me wearing, at the time, Washington Redskins stuff in my school pictures, like in the third, fourth grade, like all that. You'll see me with a Washington Redskins shirt. And it never failed for a few years.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those where it's just like you, not to coin the phrase from Bareback Mountain, I just can't quit it. Like I just can't quit you, Commanders. Like I just can't.
Because even when everything was going on with the whole Washington Post story, which we talked about a couple years ago, that was when we really started doing these shows together.
Yep.
We had even talked about it. Like me and you had private conversations about like, hey, we were both thinking about it at one point.
Yeah.
And I had my list. My list was a list of 3 teams: the Seahawks, Chargers, and Rams. I mean, am I glad I didn't? No, not really. But at the same time, I am. Like it definitely is a love-hate relationship. It's definitely a toxic relationship.
Yeah.
That for whatever reason, no matter how much they piss me off on Sunday afternoon, Monday morning I'm right back saying, all right, let's be better. We can work on this. We can make this work.
Yeah. Just like what Hootie said, the Dolphins make him cry. And I'm like, it don't necessarily make me cry, but it angers me. Like to no avail. But I think the thing about it is, and I think Gary Vee made a great point about it because it's not necessarily it's about getting to the next level. Like it's not like so when Washington does win,
yeah,
you can look back at these things and I remember the upset, like the things you think about. Like even when we had the win streak, that was great. That was like such the high of emotions, especially considering the fact that coming off that Denver game where that pissed me off. Like I don't know if I told you the story about when I was handing out candy to kids during the game. And like I don't think no one heard me. But when we lost, I had a collective. I had said the F word, but I don't think any children was around. If my memory serves correct, but I let it out, and I was pissed. I'm telling you, that game will always stick with me because some of these games I take personal. Like it's just in my nature, and it's not like something that's going to stress me out or whatever. I'm okay. Like I drink tea and all that to kind of calm myself down. But yeah, and I'm thinking no children were around because I think after that, I think I stopped passing out candy at that time. So I don't think no kids was around for them to have me say
I'm privileged enough to have kids. And they are well aware of every curse word in the English language. Because I have a mantra. A lot of people who have kids will agree with me when I say "F them kids, bro." When it comes to especially during football season on Sundays, they know it's Dad's gonna be cussing a lot. He's gonna be screaming a lot, good and bad.
Yeah,
they never know if it's happy yelling or bad yelling, but they're getting smarter. They've kind of learned when it's good and they'll yell with me, and when it's bad, they'll just be like, "All right, let's leave him alone. Let's go do something else."
Yeah, and yeah, it's just one of those where it's just like, and I think it just like, and I think it is weird because like it's those moments, those bad moments, and they turn to good. Like when we beat Tampa, I'm telling you, that made we could literally won the Super Bowl. That's how I felt. You would have thought they won the Super Bowl the way I was, because it's a simple fact of how this team. And we talk about it every week. we always say there's going to be a game where all three phases are going to
Yep.
show up to play. That was our three phases game, and the build up of that, the anticipation of that happening, and we actually beating a team like that, and then that run was like, I mean, it made all the bad things that happened, the situation in Buffalo, everything, even when we won in Atlanta, like all that type of stuff. That was amazing. Like
Yeah.
consider the fact with obviously with Taylor being from Atlanta, what being of Georgia, Hoopers and Jelani might be like he ain't from Atlanta, so but I forgot he's from some county. I think it's Gwinnett or something like that. So they didn't get on me for that, but he ain't from Atlanta. But
Taylor Heineke looks like he's the kind of guy who's from the outskirts of Atlanta, and they go claim he's from Atlanta.
yeah. But yeah, shout out to Taylor. He was at the game yesterday at the ODU Virginia Tech
I was just
game.
about to say, shout out ODU
Yeah, shout out to
pulling that
ODU.
upset.
Yes, yes,
ODU has
yes.
two wins in their program history against Power 5 teams, both against West
Yeah,
Virginia
yeah. Well, Virginia
or
Tech. Yeah, Virginia Tech.
Virginia
Yeah.
Tech.
And that's
One of those
funny
two.
because, and I always said like ODU was gonna be a team down the line that was gonna start making some noise. So it's kind of good to see them doing it, and and that's they're an emerging program, obviously, coming up. So that's definitely it's a win for the state of Virginia, I think, more so than anything. I know a lot of people look at because Virginia Tech and UVA is like the blue bloods of Virginia.
Yeah.
So now you get a team in Monarch Blue can go out there and actually uh, do stuff. So
Yeah.
definitely huge shout out to
They
the
might be the next. We were talking about earlier today in the group chat, the App
App
State,
State. Yeah, they could
and when
be.
they beat Michigan, weren't even a D1 school,
Yep.
and now
And
look
now
at them. They're doing
in the
big
Sun Belt.
things.
Yep, and they in the Sun Belt.
Yep.
Yep, they in the Sun Belt and they doing their thing. So before we head on out, final topic. Got any hot takes for this upcoming season? So we can look at this, at the end of the year and it's like laugh, like, oh boy, what in the world we got wrong?
So I don't know if I would consider it a hot take. I would say it's more of a ceiling of like best case scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Because considering the fact that I have money on it, I'm gonna go ahead and double down on it.
Oh
Uh, the Commanders will win the division, and Carson Wentz will be in the talk for league MVP.
yeah, because you put a futures for does he have to be the league MVP or he has to be in a running for it, like in the
No, he has
top?
to be. So for money wise, he needs to win. So they need to. All four bets I put, I forgot what it nets me, but I bet $10 on each. Washington to win the division, win the conference, win the Super Bowl, and for Carson Wentz to win MVP. All that happens, I think I win like $40,000, something crazy like that.
Oh.
But
And
yeah, I think they're gonna get their stuff together. I think that they're going. I think they'll get their groove going. We have two. I don't want to say easy opponents, but they're definitely like they were the reason they were the top two picks in the league last year. And those players that they both picked they're not franchise game changers. So I think those two games are gonna use to kind of get a flow going. I think obviously the playbook will be expanded a lot more. Obviously, the playbook in preseason we all know is very condensed, very vanilla. You don't want to really show a lot, and I know Scott Turner likes to get creative with his formations and motions and stuff like that. So I think Carson Wentz will get into a groove, and I think he could at the very least put up similar numbers in what he did last year. The 27-7. I think he could push, 35, 40 touchdowns throughout the year, especially with a back like J.D. McKissick and Antonio Gibson out of the backfield that can catch passes. I think it's possible. Maybe not, albeit plausible, but I definitely think it's possible that he can definitely be up there with the statistically with the top quarterbacks in the league.
yeah. Yeah, I think, like I said, I think my hot take was kind of like how it was last week. where I think that Sunday night game, the week 18 matchup against Dallas is going to be the Sunday night game for sure. And if I know Brian Robinson is on the list, so he has if my memory serves correct, that list you can be out what out that's on a timetable, right? Was it at least like the first 4 games?
Not
I
that I've
forgot what
seen.
that I've seen. I'm gonna put it this way: if Brian Robinson comes back in the month of October, he'll be 1,000-yard rusher. He would be 1,000-yard rusher if he comes back. If he comes back either against Dallas on October the 2nd or Tennessee on October the 9th. If he starts in one of those games and he plays throughout the whole entire season, he'll be 1,000-yard back. So
I like it.
Hey, I want to say a bet for that. Potentially, I know it probably is though. So we'll put a bow on this week's chat. Rob, tell me where they can find you on social media and any upcoming projects, what you got going on.
Y'all already know you can find me FNC Pod on Twitter, Football and Show Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. I got a YouTube video coming out probably sometime tomorrow night, talking about college football playoff expansion. They just announced that they're going to expand at the latest 2026. They're pushing for 2024. Pros and cons and how it's going to affect the landscape of college football as a whole. So I'll be on the lookout for that.
Yeah, that's gonna be definitely interesting. I had a conversation about that today, and it's like, but I'm definitely looking forward to hearing your take on that as well. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram on the Couch Coach Live. Check out the podcast anyway. Get your podcast, Apple, Spotify. We're there. And then also Commanders in the chat. So that's Commanders ITC, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. That so you can, and then also Commanders in the Chat podcast. Where anywhere you get your podcast, we are there as well. And definitely looking forward to the next episode where we'll be actually previewing an actual matchup. So and start this soap opera that is the 2022 Washington Commander squad. Yep. This could be as the world turns, all kind of anything, the young and the restless. This what this season is going to be as far as from a title. It could be a lot of stuff. It could be what other soap operas or whatever. But it could be like that. It could be bold and beautiful potentially. It could be so who knows. But without further ado, man, this has been this week's Commanders in the Chat, man. We'll catch you guys next week, and we're out.